Hello and welcome to the Evercade Retreat. My name is Joke and today I'm bringing you a review and ranking of the various Burger Time games on the Evercade and the Evercade related hardware, and ranking them in my ever-growing list where I try and rank every game on the Evercade ecosystem. Burger Time is the tale of Peter Pepper and his family as they try and attain the lowest possible rating in the food hygiene rating scale thing. Or at least this is what I assume, because looking at how they prepare food, they can't be aiming for quality and, to become some kind of 5-star restaurant. Peter prepares burgers by stomping all over the ingredients and kicking them down onto the ground, and when all the layers of ingredients are finally on the ground, they're ready. And while it's a blessing that he didn't spit in them, who knows where his feet have been. Also, you have to bear in mind the size of the mutant ingredients running around as the enemies, so I'd assume that his kitchen is already such a hygiene abomination and hazard that it's caused these things that have probably been sat in the back of the fridge or storage cupboard for so long they've mutated into new life forms. I would never ever consider eating at the restaurant of the Pepper family. On the Evercade we have two versions of the original Burger Time, the arcade original and the NES port. In both you control Peter Pepper as he does as I've just described, on single screen platforming levels, throwing pepper into the eyes of giant eggs and hot dogs and pickles and things, and trying to complete his orders. And it's strangely compelling, although the difficulty does ramp up quite harshly on the later few levels, and there aren't many, but trying to master it and getting better times and getting further into the game is quite compelling, or at least on the arcade original. So I'm going to place that in my ranking list first, and I would place it above Pac-Man for the NES, but below Centipede for the 2600. The NES port, however, isn't quite as good. The speeds of things don't run quite so well. The conversion from a Tate mode or vertical aspect ratio arcade to a regular aspect ratio NES game, and just a few quirks of the port, just doesn't quite work as well for me, but it's still not a bad little game. I would place it above Worms for the Mega Drive, but below Crude Buster. Oh, and I forgot to mention, Burger Time Arcade can be found on Data East Arcade Collection 1, and the NES port can be found on the Data East Console Collection 1. Moving on to Data East Arcade Collection 2, we have two more entries from the Peter Pepper family saga of poor hygiene. The first is Peter Pepper's Ice Cream Factory, the sequel to Burger Time, where you're making dessert. And once again, Peter Pepper's poor hygiene comes into play as he rolls the ice cream along the ground, throws it at enemies and drops it into cones. And this game is infuriating. The enemies are far too fast and aggressive at first, especially before you get to grips with the game, making it very clumsy, and Peter's range for falling is abysmal. It does get a bit easier later on, but why would you want to try when it sucks so bad to begin with? Although I am assured the game does get better, I haven't found it yet. If I ever do, maybe I'll bump this up the ranking. But for now it's going to sit above Tempest's 2600, but below Word Rockets. Also on the same collection we have Super Burger Time, where you play Peter Pepper Jr., who clearly learnt his hygiene standards from his father. It's largely the same as Burger Time, even though there is a greater diversity in abilities, enemies, and, well, just the play is modernised somewhat. This time, instead of walking across the ingredients, you have to jump on them repeatedly. Peter Pepper Jr. moves more fluidly than his father did, and the graphics are brighter and more colourful, but they're also extremely garish and don't really look any better, and in fact I'd say they look worse, despite being more modern. There are bosses to contend with, and all this game should be greatly superior to the original. I think it ultimately falls short. To place it in my overall ranking list, I would have to put it above Bad Dudes for the NES, but below Worms Blast. So yeah, none of these games have rated all that highly, but a damn sight higher than their food hygiene rating could ever be. And to be fair, I think the original Burger Time has rated quite solidly. Given the amount of games I have now rated, that sort of middle placing basically indicates it's a solid game. Perhaps I should start out colour coding this list. So like, red is awful, yellow is bad, green is good, and then have some other colours for things that are genuinely amazing or something. I don't know, just got to try and do something with such a large list. That's obviously going to get it much larger to make things a bit more obvious of how things stand or where my opinion is on the scheme of things. Someone did suggest more of a tier list, but I just think there's too much content for that. But whatever I do is going to get unwieldy, so, you know, I'll do the best I can. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.